Welcome back to that build. Today I'm actually going to be tackling something that's not really crucial, but I see quite a lot of it in forums and on journal pictures and everything like that. Number one, I need to actually inspect the ECU, and of course to do that I've got to remove a bit of the dashboard and then of course look inside. What I tend to see in pictures is that there is an abundance of debris, leaves, dirt, all this kind of crap that gets in around this area. It basically makes its way through and then inside. So I'm actually going to be cleaning those out and then doing a fix, which I don't understand why it wasn't part of the factory guys in the first place. After that, I'm going to be hopefully putting in the new box that I've received, the new fuse box. I don't have every little part I need. For now I'm going to do a bit of a dodgy and install it, basically twisting wires and putting some electrical tape, simply because I do want to actually test if that is the be all end all of the problem or I need to order another part. So with that being the case, let's crack on. This is not going to be as straightforward as I thought. These wiper arms here, this entire mechanism is completely in the way on the driver's side. The passenger side isn't as bad. I could actually do that. You don't even know what that is yet, but anyway, this entire section is completely hindering my ability to do the job I want in a quick turnaround. It's a factor of removing this, removing all of that, taking it out, and then getting access to where I need to be. And unless it's an optical illusion, I think I've got more room on that side than this side, but I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not really sure where to go from here. What I will do in the meantime is simply clean out all of this, which there is a fair bit, and consider my options. So as we can see, I have been a bit hard at work. I now have a gauge cluster which includes oil pressure, boost and water temperature. There was a couple of other gauges I would have preferred to have or also have, but to be honest, I don't want to overkill the car with extra gauges. I do have a couple of dummy lights on the dashboard which will suffice. Oil pressure will kind of give me enough of an indication. Oil temperature would have been nice, but at the end of the day, this setup may be temporary. I'm not 100% certain if I do like it enough to keep it long term. So for now, I'm going to run it simply because it does give me a couple of extra bits of insight. Water temperature especially, I would like to know that. Oil pressure. Boost, it's nice to know. It's mostly going to be to know if I've got a leak, which I definitely believe I have at the moment, so that's going to be helpful regardless. But long term, I may replace the boost gauge with more likely an oil pressure gauge, oil temperature gauge, and yeah, I'll see how I go. But anyway, what I need to do is more or less get under here, which is a bit of a fun factor because you've got the windscreen right in front. It does constrain. What you need is a couple of, what I have is flathead screwdrivers, but panel removers, like the actual clip things. I can't even name them right now, I'm terrible with names. But in my situation, there was enough of a gap that a couple of small flathead screwdrivers do the job. You can also just kind of push this away, but to be honest, because I have that extra cluster set, not so much. So yeah, that just pops right off, just pushing it forward. Put that aside. Okay, so underneath this, try to get comfortable. We now have 3 very visible screws and then a couple of screws underneath, which we need to get to. These 2 panels here overlap at this point right at the very back. So you need to make sure that when you remove one side, just ensure that you're not pulling up on the wrong one, because otherwise you can break a bit of plastic there, which I think this has happened at some point in time. That might be one of my rattles. Excellent. So by the looks, it's a T20. So got a handy torque set here. That's good. There we go. So see how bad these are. That's not too bad. So these, I reckon, have been undone at some point in time. So maybe underneath here isn't too bad. I highly doubt it. I reckon it's still littered. But anyway, this seems like it's going to take me a while. So how about I come back to you once this is all done. Okay, all 3 of those are now removed. So as mentioned, this one here, yeah, this one actually goes on top first. So what I'll do, they're held down with some tab clips underneath. I think there's about 3 or 4 on each side. So I'm just going to pop the top end. Oh, that's horrible. It can pretty much completely come out of it. There we go. Ooh. Okay. Yep. Easy enough. So yeah. Sorry. Yeah, 4 on this side and 3 on the back. Basically, just pop it up and then pull it towards you or away from you, depending on where you are. Basically, you want to go away from the A-pillar. It's got these little tabs at the very end there. So, yeah, that'll need to be plastic welded up. So I'll sort that out. Get this out of the way as well. And then this side, same sort of deal. So lift up. And one, it's horrible. One to the very back. Okay. Yep, all out. Good, good. So, wow. It's pretty well insulated. Anyway. Get upside down. So, these little... If you find these, they might still be resting in place properly, but for the most part, yeah, they're just going to be loose. I don't think they're really much good of anything. They're just these little fabric tabs. They're supposed to stop squeaking and whatnot. I might actually get a bit of fabric to kind of sandwich in between, put it in there so I can press down. I don't think these really do much anymore, so get rid of those. Underneath now we have these 2 panels, and someone's definitely been under here given the strand of hair I'm looking at, so that's good. So once again, Torque's bit into, okay, just need a bit more leverage. Yeah, okay, same sort of deal. We have 2 singly, yep, 2 at the back on either side, and then, well, I seem to be missing some screws, which is always good to see. So, supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4 at the front, but I seem to have 3 on each side. So, just depends on whether someone's meddled in the past. These front ones are a little hard to see, so you got to kind of do it by sight. You can, if you're clever enough, climb over and have a look over the top of the dash, but actually getting to here. Oh, okay. So the very front screws are actually a shoulder screw. So they have a section of metal where it just holds the plastic in place. So the back ones are just standard style screws, but the front ones are these shoulder ones. So keep that in mind. You won't be able to get the shoulder ones in the very back anyway because there's not enough plastic there. So, or there's too much plastic there, I should say. Okay, so moment of truth. I believe now we simply just, yep, lift these up. I don't, there's nothing else. It's just a factor of sliding it out somehow because it is quite tight in there. Whoop. Don't force it, obviously. Come on, there we go. Slide a bit, and then, how do you want to come out? Come on. What I might do is just leave a, nope, that's not going to work. How do you want to come out? Can we go upwards? There we go. That's horrible. Okay, it's nicely padded. Yeah, it's just a like a rubberized seal as such. Put that out of the way. Whoa. Okay. And this is the problem. All of the debris from that open cavity out there comes through this section of plastic here and then just blows on in. And of course, there is so much shrapnel. All of this leaf debris is just cluttering inside here. And that can't be good for a couple of reasons, but yeah, that just needs to be cleaned out. So behind here is more or less where that engine cavity leads into. So this here, where my hand is about to disappear, that is leading out to above in there. And of course, all this debris here is what filters through, or should I say, does not filter through. This is why this certain modification needs to be done. But the problem is that I really need to remove that ECU because it is in the way. The trouble is that it means disconnecting it, which I didn't really want to do, but it seems I'm going to have to. But then I've also discovered that one of the clips which hold it in place are broken. So this thing's been out before, and of course now it, great. So to finish off with, well, for starters, with regards to the front end, that was a lot more than I expected. I didn't think it was that encased and full of stuff. So that's going to be a part 2 to finish that one off. For now, at least I've cleaned out in here, done a little bit of clean out in here, and I've also managed to install my boost gauge, or at least hooked it up. Vastly inaccurate. I don't even know if the PSI itself reading is anywhere near, but at least I am seeing that it is going to boost, and then of course it's sitting roughly at about the correct measurement at 20 inches per mercury, or whatever it's referred to as. But otherwise, the new distribution block is installed in the engine bay. I have once again run the codes and cleared the memory. Funnily enough, as soon as I'd clear the memory on the ABS controller, it kept coming back saying there was still a 01542-012 fault code, which was a open circuit issue with the power. So I don't think it's related to that. I think it is purely now the actual yaw sensor. So I'll have to replace the yaw sensor, which isn't too bad going. At the end of the day, it's, you know, another thing in the blockchain. Funnily enough though, and I've just cleared the codes once more, but the fault code for the coolant temp sensor came up again. Now, once more, all I did last time was simply change that coolant temp sensor. The block was still somewhat related to that system, and of course there's a controller module, a relay, which needs power from that thing, and of course with it being the way it was, it's possibly wasn't getting correct voltage or whatever. So I've once again cleared the codes, and I'll see whether or not this coming week that anything gets rectified that way. So at least that is a result. Just got to wait and see now whether or not I get any further issues with that. That distribution block is the wrong one for this car. It's a Mark IV chassis, but it's a slight variation in the way it actually mounts onto the case. And then of course one of the fuses I had to change over, it was a 110 from the alternator main to the actual distribution. I put my 150 back on there. So not too big of an issue. It is on there for now, but I'm not really 100% happy with it. So I might end up changing again in the future for a better setup, or just creating something myself. I mean, it's not really that complicated, that system they actually have there. The only thing that's different is those 3 plugs that could easily be sorted with the same sort of setup. I don't know why those 3 wires have to have that plug. It couldn't be daisy chained off something else, but anyway. At the end of the day, it is pretty much the end of the episode again. So a little bit of a result. Not exactly what I was hoping in total. I was hoping for a bit more, but at least it's a lot cleaner in there now. Yeah, I can start digging into all of the rest of that later on, do a proper job and get that once and for all sorted, so I won't have an issue ever in the future. But otherwise I can get a bit of an idea on regards to boost leak. I did feel that shudder again on the drive home, but when I test drove yesterday, once the boost gauge was hooked up, didn't happen. So until I start to feel that jerking again and I can actually see on the gauge what's going on, or when the EPC light kicks in as well, if it does anymore. I don't know if that's related to the ABS or what, but anyway, that's going to do it again today. So there is a bit more to come. I'm sure you can kind of see, I don't know if that's in view, but I've got stuff hanging everywhere, chunks of plastic missing. That'll be for next time. So yeah, that's going to do it again today, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, like, subscribe, comment below, etc. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbor that if he's ever going to buy a part, make sure that it is for the exact chassis and model and car and spec and year and all that sort of stuff needed, so he doesn't have to buy it again in the future, which I most likely will be doing. But anyway, guys, until next time, cheers.